All right, everybody, come on in. I got a real treat for you right now. As many of you know, I think 2025 will be the high watermark for American authoritarianism. Donald Trump is the most powerful president now we've ever had. But this is the year Americans learned we had power too. We got educated, we went to court, we organized, we fought back, we took care of each other. And next year we go from defense to offense. And high on the list of Americans who made that possible is Norm Eisen. He is the executive chair and co-founder of Democracy Defenders Fund, but saying that answers the question, Norm, what have you done for us lately? Because really, what a career and what a life, whether as an advisor to the president, special counsel to the president, or representing us as an ambassador or in your books, your work has made America a better, safer, and more decent place. So I couldn't be happier to be having this end of year conversation with you.
Thank you, Edwin. I'm so thrilled to be here. And your philosophy of what went on this year and what to expect next year is exactly in accordance with my own.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that.
Looking forward to the conversation.
Well, since we have a little bit of time, let's talk about both, sort of the current headlines, but also this, this moment we're in more broadly. And maybe we could start with something that happened like this week, which is Judge Dugan getting convicted in Wisconsin. And I'd love your thoughts on that. For all of you, this is the case where somebody came to court and the judge said, go out the side door. It's 10 feet from the front door. The Trump administration perp walked her out, took her to trial, and she was acquitted of
split verdict. She was acquitted on one, convicted on the other. And the fact that they were only able to achieve success on one of those counts is emblematic of the struggles that the Trump administration has had in its campaign of legal intimidation to reinforce the bullying of ICE. This is about the judge controlling her courtroom and preventing an ICE arrest in the courtroom, which would not be appropriate. There's a dispute about what happened next. The jury split the baby. In most of these cases, the Washington Post just had a story. There have been 5 involving protesters and the like that have failed, whether at the jury finding not guilty or otherwise. This case, half the case has now dropped off with the acquittal. And I think you're going to see very substantial appellate practice here on whether this evidence justified a conviction and whether you can even prosecute a state court judge for this kind of thing. About 150 state and federal judges joined us at Democracy Defenders Fund in writing a brief laying out what we think will be powerful on appeal. And the defense team said they are going to appeal. Mm-hmm. You can't do this to a judge. The judge who tried the case was not, in my view, sufficiently tough. But the appellate courts are now going to take a fresh look. And I think the struggles of the Trump administration will continue when they do. Mm-hmm. Don't take my word for it. About 150 federal and state judges feel that there's not a legal basis here.
The whole thing brings, the question of what happened in this particular case is sort of one kind of question, but the other is how do we maintain, judicial independence when the executive branch sends its agents in and around courtrooms that they are arresting people who are coming to court? How does that not intimidate judges and witnesses and juries and put the whole system in peril?
Yeah, the answer is that our judges and our juries and our witnesses and our average folks have been very, very strong in response to the bullying of the Donald Trump and the Trump administration. Let's move from the intimidation lane to the revenge and retaliation lane, or as Donald Trump's chief of staff admitted, and Edwin, this is going to be in the legal cases. Yep. He's embarked on score settling against Tish James and James Comey. Well, look at what happened in those cases. Yep. They were both thrown out. We filed briefs there, And we developed the theory that their lawyers used. We secured it in the Alina Habba case over in New Jersey, moved it to Virginia. Those cases were thrown out by brave judges. Then they tried to bring the Tish James case back. Twice grand juries, not once, twice grand juries, ordinary folks, average Americans refused to charge. I've never heard of that happening.
It's crazy.
First a court throws it out, then two grand juries. So I think you're seeing the strength of the American public. The ultimate guardrail is the American people.
Yeah.
And they're standing strong.
Well, I mean, I try not to be alarmist, but we have alarms for reasons, and sometimes they go off. We have an administration sort of unburdened by legal constraint, unable to imagine ethical ones, and determined to be coercive. But look, two things stand in the way of that: the Constitution and American people. But Norm, the American people over time have sort of lost that muscle of organizing, and we're getting it back. But the only reason we have time to get it back is because of what you guys are doing in court. You're slowing them down and giving the rest of the country time to organize and be publicly brave again. So your work is enormously important on its face, but also for the space it gives the rest of us to do what we need to do.
Well, thank you. You're kind. The Atlantic wrote an article about us and the coalition, but they led off the article with Democracy Defenders Fund. And they said, this is the part of the resistance that's actually working, the legal resistance.
Yeah.
Since that happened, we're seeing the other pistons in that engine of democracy starting to operate as well. Think of the litigation as the spark plug that has set off the mass popular protests. I was invited to speak on behalf of the litigation community. Yeah. It's not just us, it's so many wonderful groups. At the very first hands-off rally that then led to No Kings 1 and followed by No Kings 2. Our press is starting to wake up. You and I are both very active. For example, we each have hundreds of thousands of followers for our Substacks, where I publish The Contrarian with the wonderful Jen Rubin and others. You have a big following on Substack. Independent media, new media, social media.
Matters a lot.
So you have court. I call them the 6 Ps, and the court proceedings, yes, they started things moving, but the public protest, the press, performance at polls, the election performance, landslide against MAGA this November in public polling, because that tells you that he's got a problem. He's so unpopular. The political leadership also has come along so far with, I think, really strong leadership in Congress, for example, the state AGs.
Certainly, yeah.
State AGs, your wonderful governor, Pritzker, your Mayor Johnson, they fought Trump's National Guard deployment. And it's been many weeks. They've won, and the Supreme Court hasn't so far stopped it. So stop the win. So I'm seeing signs of life everywhere, sparked by the litigation.
Let's talk about that. What happens in Chicago is still happening here. This gave opportunity for leadership, not just from the political class, but from everybody. And citizens stood up. And I think Chicago is Trump's Waterloo. We figured out how to push back here, not just legally, but on our streets. And that's a model that's being followed. But Greg Bovino went to court and lied. And the judge here, Judge Ellis, said, "You're lying to me." This, Norm, I don't understand this. The things that were shown to be false in court ended up in John Sauer's plea to the Supreme Court. John Sauer is going to the Supreme Court alleging things that have been proven to be false. How is that possible?
Let
me say it differently.
No, I want to answer. No, I want to answer. Every Solicitor General gets a little bit of special treatment by the Supreme Court. But you know the old saying, give him an inch, he'll take a mile.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Sauer has done. And he's going to pay the price, Edwin. There's been a lot of bad things that have happened on the shadow docket. But there's a series of cases. We have multiple cases at SCOTUS now. We filed a brief on behalf of conservatives. In the tariffs case,
Yep.
I think that those lies are going to come back to haunt the Trump administration. That may be one of the most important cases and the most painful for Donald Trump in the whole panoply of the hundreds of cases that have been filed this year. So, and there's more. We have the birthright citizenship case. I think Donald Trump is going to lose that up at the Supreme Court. We have a bunch of other big cases coming where he's going to, I believe, lose. So that's the price of those lies. And even if they don't say to him on the bench, you liar, they're going to make him pay in those cases.
I hope so, because at stake is whether facts and the law still matter in court or whether political persuasion is the only thing that matters.
It still matters. Donald Trump has lost hundreds of cases, and the Supreme Court only messes with a small fraction of those.
Right.
About 10%. So 90% of his losses have stopped his bad behavior. We literally get a court order almost every day stopping some or another bad action by Donald Trump.
Yeah. And mostly he is stopped, although, you know, they told ICE not to continue to tear gas neighborhoods here, and they continued to tear gas neighborhoods. So I think it's enormously important work, but the rest of us have to do ours too.
We do. And if I may say so, you're doing your share of the job, and the people who follow you, you're getting the message out. You're being truthful, not neutral, as one of my CNN colleagues exhorted me to do.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if the whole democracy movement does that, we've got Trump outnumbered.
I think so too. And I think the vote, I personally think we will have an election, we will count the votes, and they will matter. I know people are worried about that. And I think it's fair to be worried, but being worried doesn't mean it won't happen. I mean, in fact, on the contrary, that worry helps make sure it happens.
I think so. And it's been an overperformance by the forces of democracy in 2025. And now, as you said when we started out, we have to pivot from the successes we've enjoyed playing defense to going on offense. And at Democracy Defenders Fund, we've already done quite a bit of going on offense.
Mm-hmm. How do we hold this crowd accountable when we win?
Well, let me give you some of the seeds that we've planted of that ultimate accountability. They kidnapped and abducted, against court orders, hundreds of Venezuelan men to CCOT. That was completely outside the bounds of the law. This was there's
a contempt proceeding about that, isn't there?
But that's not enough. I think those individuals have got, like, if anybody who's kidnapped, you have recourse. We've started that.
That's great.
We filed the first claim by an innocent. He's a barber.
Yep.
He didn't have a gang tattoo. He had a tattoo for his family. And we filed that claim under the Federal Tort Claims Act. We're going to do much, much more there.
Oh, that's great. Go after the guys who are chiseling Trump's name onto federal buildings illegally.
A second thing that that we have done is we've started to target others who are acting illegally. I referred to this. Alina Habba, Trump's crony. He plugged her in New Jersey. She said she was there for improper purposes for an acting U.S. attorney to help turn the state red. You're not allowed to do that. Her appointment was completely illegal. It didn't follow the law when you put a U.S. attorney there. We went to court, sued. We got her disqualified. She's now been pushed out. As that same theory we helped push on Lindsay Halligan, Tish James, and James Comey's lawyers. We supported them with a brief. They got those cases dismissed. So we're going, U.S. attorneys all over the country have been found disqualified based on this theory we originated. And Edwin, they're now leaving because they know they don't have legal standing. They're not waiting to be sued. So that is some accountability. The Trump Epstein files, we are pushing that in court. We've gone on offense to get those files. Now, the Justice Department says, oh, we're not going to turn them over today. Well, guess what? We have a pending court case. If they don't turn those over, we can go to the court and say, you have to turn them over. So there's multiple levels where you can swing into action. And we're going to do much, much more of that in 2026.
Is there anything ultimately Americans can do about the personal greed, the unethical behavior of the Trump family?
Yes, if you look across at, President Trump getting that Qatari plane, or the crypto riches.
Today they just joined they merged with a nuclear fission company and
or the Trump RX. They're setting up a prescription program where they'll gain, and on all of this corruption. The litigation community, including us at Democracy Defenders Fund, we filed the first complaint to block that golden Qatari plane. And we've done the same with all of these areas of corruption, both fighting in the courts of law, including with regulatory complaints, but also fighting in the court of public opinion, calling attention to it. That's part of the revulsion that the American people are feeling in polls with Donald Trump so very unpopular. And then on the point of holding people personally accountable, we were also the first to point out that the lawyers who are giving the opinions that you can do these boat strikes, which experts say amount to murder, there's no legal basis. We have filed an ethics complaint that can be the basis to go after those lawyers acting illegitimately. So accountability is coming. And then these are all seeds that are being planted that can be followed up on when the pro-democracy forces attain power.
I'm eager to water those seeds. I think the country is, Norm, I think Mar-a-Lago, I've said this a lot, should be the next Smithsonian Museum for American Fascism. We should do to it what we did to Robert E. Lee's house, and take the symbols of their power and turn them into lessons.
The ultimate monument is, I think, this legacy. We are building the rule of law stronger. It's being tested and it's being strengthened. And now you're going to start to see some bad decisions for Trump from the Supreme Court. We've had some of the success up there. We've been among the groups that actually have had some success up there, but now you're going to see several cases coming down the pike, I think starting with the tariffs case, where Trump is going to lose.
That's going to be,
and that helps.
Chaos for them.
Well, we have to be ready.
Yeah. What did you think of his charming primetime speech where he went out to woo Americans?
Yeah, it was like a marriage counseling session in which he was complaining about why doesn't his spouse love him, and only the complainer is allowed to talk for the entire session. Like he was berating us that we don't appreciate him enough for 20 minutes. What a waste! What a waste of time and airspace.
You're involved in very serious stuff, and yet you are a happy warrior. That comes across. And
I like to think so.
Americans don't want to be yelled at all the time. We want to be part of something we like. And honestly, as a lifelong Democrat, I used to notice that the Republicans were sometimes more fun than we are, but that's not true anymore. They're just angry.
Yeah, it's tone at the top. Bad tone at the top is the worst thing for a project, and good tone at the top is the most important and the best thing. And Trump and MAGA for our nation are setting a very negative tone. And Trump at least understands that this has been a year of challenges and losses for him, Edwin, and it's very painful to him.
So they're losing people all over the administration. They're losing people. I mean, what's gone on in justice and in the FBI is terrifying to me. Where they're hemorrhaging talent, but now they're starting to hemorrhage their hacks too. So, right? So I don't know. I mean, I'm sort of glad they found the guy who committed this atrocity at Brown, but they found him because he was dead and in a box. I don't know that I have confidence.
I don't think you can give too much credit. I credit the state law enforcement authorities, and of course, Kash Patel's false announcement earlier didn't do any good. That when they had a person of interest who turned out not to be the perpetrator. Look, I think you are starting to see some fracturing of the MAGA coalition.
Mm-hmm.
It has a long way to go, but when Mike Johnson loses on the Epstein files, loses on healthcare, the signature issue, when former Trump allies like Marjorie Taylor Greene break with him, leave Congress, one vote less for Mike Johnson. When you have bipartisan concern and investigation of these, I believe, illegal boat strikes, when you have extreme public unpopularity, all of that raises serious questions. And just putting on my 501c4 Democracy Defenders Action hat for a minute, when you look at these electoral outcomes, wow, that is really a warning shot, an alarm, loud alarm going off for Trump and his allies. So we'll see.
They're in panic mode. I agree with you. And as we get closer and closer to the midterms, we're going to see that panic. We're going to see terrible actions from them, hurtful, horrible things that you're going to have to run to court and try and stop, because that's what they do when they're afraid. That's what they do when they panic. Can we please strip citizenship from people who already have it? Can we practice that? So, I mean, they really are, they're the party that would nominate Greg Bovino after Trump if they could, because they want somebody who's been out in their neighborhoods pointing weapons at people. It's such dangerous stuff coming, but it's dangerous because we're winning, Norm. It's dangerous.
Yes, and then that makes the Trump and cronies team even more dangerous. You're right.
Yeah.
It's because of the success that the danger has gone up. And that's why I think you're seeing the Venezuela adventurism, and these experts are saying it's murder. Those who served in administrations of both parties. That's why I think you're seeing that distraction, that wag the dog.
Americans aren't going to fall for that. And they don't want to go to war with Venezuela, no matter how much oil they have. It's just, nobody likes Maduro, but so what? There are a lot of leaders around the world we don't like. I might add Putin being the top of the list.
Yes, I think you're right. And it is important as we think about that. And, as you and I, as our time winds down, I hope you'll have me back again. Thinking about what we've accomplished this year and looking ahead to what lies before us in 26. We started the year with throwing off those sparks of the litigation, successfully helping jumpstart the larger democracy movement. And I don't like to call it the resistance. I like to call it the pro-Constitution effort involving so many millions and tens of millions around our country. For 2026, we're going to need to be ready to do things like protect our elections. And we have massive legal teams that are ready to deploy all over the country. Right now, as you and I speak, Donald Trump tried to steal congressional seats through redistricting, for example, in Texas. We are part of the team that went to court to counteract that, defending Prop 55 countervailing seats in California. So this is going to be the year of pushing back on corruption, defending the rule of law, but above all, protecting our elections. And I think we're up for it.
I think we are too. And by the way, that protection is legal, and it's also includes in places like Illinois, where I worry that ICE will intimidate people, making sure that people know where they can vote early, get their votes in the bank before anybody can surround a polling place, protect that. You guys have to keep the Trump administration from winning his suits against states to take all our election data.
We're going to do our best.
Yep. Well, all right. Look, we have a great year ahead, and people like you and thousands of Americans are
millions,
right? Millions, like showing that we aren't good. We don't like being bullied. B, we don't like being lied to. C, we don't like it when things don't work. And D, we actually love our democracy.
That's it. That's our credo. Thank you for having me. Happy holidays. Have a wonderful new year. And it's going to be a very strong continued new year of pro rule of law pushback by the democracy movement.
From defense to offense. You know it. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Edwin.